Pakistan Navy, under the patronage of Ministry of Maritime Affairs, is organizing the first ever International Maritime Exhibition at Karachi. The exhibition will bring together stakeholders and companies from diverse maritime fields to exploit the potential of the blue economy. The three-day exhibition will provide an opportunity for B2G and B2B interactions, joint ventures and investment in maritime sector. A maritime conference will also be conducted during PIME, in which eminent speakers, experts and reps from public and private sectors will share their views on maritime investment potential in Pakistan. Premier edition of PIME, co-organized by Expo Solutions and Pakistan Navy under the patronage of Ministry of Maritime Affairs, Government of Pakistan. Pakistan International Maritime Exhibition and Conference will be held from the 10th till the 12th of February 2023 at Karachi Expo Center.
Assalamu alaikum, you're watching Views and News and I'm Faisal Rahman live from our Islamabad studios. Now, Pakistan to organize first International Maritime Expo and Conference in February 2023, first of its kind. And interestingly, now what we have learnt about it, that it is more about exploring the maritime potential. Now, since we all know that when we talk about the 4 provinces of Pakistan, so I happened to meet a few of the naval officers and they said, no, we have got 5 provinces. One is the sea which we have, 1,000 kilometers of our coastal line and almost 290,000 square kilometers of the area. That is around the area if you combine Punjab and KB together. So you can well imagine the kind of potential you're talking about. Once upon a time, Pakistan had the biggest shipbreaking setup in Gadani. Now, the potential is still there, but much hasn't been done. So most likely, these sort of exhibitions and expos really give a boost to the ideas which still prevail in that particular part. So, to talk about it, let me quickly introduce you to our panelists. We have with us in our studio on my right is Air Vice Marshal retired Ijaz Malik Saab. Thank you very much, Malik Saab, for your presence, sir. And we also have with us Dr. Nuzhat Khan Saiba, former DG NIO. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your availability as well. And we have with us Dr. Professor Zafar Nawaz Jaspal Saab, expert on foreign affairs and international relations. Dr. Saab, pleasure to have you on the show. And we have been joined in by Nagmana Zafar Saiba, senior researcher, NIMA. She is going to join us on Skype. Pleasure to have you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time as well. But let me put the first question to you, sir, Ravim Saab. Pakistan has a lot of potential as far as maritime is concerned, and the kind of exercises with so many different countries that we have witnessed, the kind of potential that the Navy has shown. But obviously the civil side, or let me put it this way, the private sector should also pull in, because it is not only the job of the military or the men in uniform to look after the affairs and especially explore the financial potential of the area, sir. So let's start off from this very important point that when we talk about this particular exhibition or expo or conference for that matter, what exactly do we need to derive out of it, number one, and what sort of an objective which has been set as far as the achievement is concerned?
Thank you very much, Faisal. As you have mentioned yourself, that our potential for our sea frontiers or coastal belt, let's say it's more than 1,000 kilometers. Then we have our territorial waters, then exclusive economic zones, and then the continental shelf. So only in our exclusive economic zone, more commonly known as EEZ, we have 240,000 square kilometers of area where we exercise and enjoy the full freedom to explore it for any activity starting from the surface down to the bedrock of that sea.
All right.
So it contains, aquaculture, it contains marine ecology, it contains, the shipping which goes through it, and the natural resources or mineral resources, including the huge energy resources that we have in this area which is under our control.
All right.
So coming now, after having given this geographic description, now what has happened that over the years, Alhamdulillah, Pakistan Navy has emerged a regional Navy which has fought wars, which have conducted exercises, and they have shown their 4 dimensions of operations in their area of responsibility in Indian Ocean region. But somehow, because the other institutions which were coming up, like we had a very good shipping industry. If you recall your youth time, or at least my youth time, you are still young, that PNSC used to be a national flag carriers. There would be a huge shipping industry. Now we are hiring ships from foreign registered firms. That industry has gone down, and then we have not exercised enough for the allied industries, be it fishery, be it other industry, which are otherwise traditionally the bread and butter of our local folks who are residing along the coastal line. So Navy, I must appreciate that Navy has, instead of only enjoying that, people have mixed up maritime, word maritime with naval, and Navy was enjoying that privilege, being understood as custodian of all maritime interest along with the naval interest. This initiative has been taken by Pakistan Navy itself, that they want that it should be put up in the correct perspective, where maritime domain is far greater and its scope is far outreaching as compared to the mere defense application through Pakistan.
Like water sports, for that matter. That's an amazing concept. Yeah.
So looking at this initiative, I think it will introduce Pakistan to the international market. We will come on the radar of multiple facets of industries and economic areas or vistas which are associated with maritime sector.
All right, now coming to you, ma'am, particularly let's also talk about this particular conference that was held today in Islamabad. So basically, ma'am, the idea is to have this particular exhibition or conference in 2023 February. So ma'am, you've got plenty of time now to gear up and just come up with various ideas, do brainstorming session and be creative. What exactly do you have in your mind when you talk about this particular concept, ma'am?
Before I elaborate it for the day or for the upcoming event, what we are going to, how we are going to celebrate, what we are going to do, that let me introduce a bit on the blue economy perspective in Pakistan.
Definitely.
This concept is around the world. The importance of ocean is very well established since men on this planet. We try and travel, trade by sea.
Yes.
The first navigational chart was established in the early 70s. That means the relationship of the blue the blue economy and the mankind is started not today, it's since long. That means first navigational started in 70s, and then the exploration of food, Charles Darwin, it happened in early 80s. That means the exploration of blue economy is as old as mankind on this planet and is part of the development activities as well. Because the fossil fuel which we are burning in our engines, either engine in the car or in industries, they all are driven from oceans. The fossil fuel, that means the blue economy means the ocean is the backbone of all entire economy of the world. That's the backbone. The buzzword we call as the blue is something very new in that, but utilization and uses of that ocean is very, very long. We need, why we are looking at the ocean, why we are talking about the blue economy and the ocean, because we consume most of our land resources. Now we are starving for the resources for development. Now we are looking at the sea, how we can harvest, how we can make use of the ocean for sustainable development. And for that, the Pakistan or maybe Badr Expo, in collaboration with Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Naval Headquarters, they are trying to showcase Pakistan blue economy perspective. This is really going to be very interesting. We are planning to start some kind of the business-based solutions for our oceans.
Okay.
There are potential for green energy. There are potential for like food scarcity, like the high protein foods are there, aquacultures, offshore aquaculture, cage cultures, and this is very important to develop in Pakistan because we have to address
and the export potential from the seafood basically.
Yes,
that is one of the best in the world.
It's not just export, it's the local consumptions as well, because our coastal areas are really starving with the quality food, is a good protein food. The fish is basically providing them a good quality protein food, which is really very essential for us, for our growth. and export as well. And there is a lot of commercial markets as they were, because we are just stuck up with very traditional seafood. It's like fish, but there's more than 200 species.
Different species,
200,000 species are there. It's the richest forum, richest domain is the biodiversity is in ocean. So there is a food, there is energy, there is water scarcity. That means we have to look for the CO2 desalination. And basically ocean is connecting. It's not just connecting continent to continent. It's connecting to culture, trade to trade. So it's going to be a like B2B business. It's going to be international.
All right.
So we are looking forward for B2 business in that forum.
Now coming to you, sir, let's talk about the aspect from the international relations, because sir, when we talk about the roots, obviously starting from, let's start off from the Far East all the way to Middle East or further down, and then gateway to Europe for that matter through the Suez Canal and all. Now, so the point is that there was a time when, as I earlier also mentioned, and Ibn Sahab also talked about it, that we had the best shipbreaking setup in Pakistan in Gadani. And I happened to talk to one of the former naval vice chiefs, and he said that, the kind of potential that exists there is we have got no idea even now. But we could have done so much. For example, this oil tanker repair, or for that matter, whatever trade is taking place, for example, ships are coming with the oil, and on the way back we can repair them, and there is a huge multi-billion-dollar industry. Let's also talk about that, sir. Your take on it.
Faisal, when we look about the maritime potential, economically, politically, or militarily, it is there, and Pakistan is one of the most important stakeholders, being a literal state of the Arabian Sea becoming a Indian Ocean. Now what you have referred, if you see, I can give you a very simple example. Officially they say that we pay a freight of 3 billion. We have a 3 billion freight market. No, actually it's 8 billion freight market in Pakistan. And Pakistan's own, you can say, ships which are only 8 in number, and they are not cargo. And they are only, you can say, having a share 10% because they have 8 to 9 ships. So 90% the other outsourced, and others are making the money. This is number one. Second is that Pakistan is a agri products exporter, like currently mangoes, or you can say in the coming season citrus and the other products. Now when you don't have your own shipping line, which is starting from here and moving on, then naturally you are relying on the others. So these agriculture products, lifeline is 3, 4, 10, whatever you can look at it is also dangerous. So Pakistan in the last, since 1970, unfortunately, I can say that there was a sea blindness. Recently, even I guess last 2 years, yes, we were hearing Aman exercise organized by the Pakistan Navy or NEMA or XYZ, but this is first time they are coming up with a big, not only with a vision, but execution. And today, when Defense Minister and Maritime Minister or the Naval Chief, when they launched this, you can say soft launch, that generates a hope. The hope that Pakistan is on the right direction. But the problem in this context is still the policymakers seems unaware what is the maritime potential. For example, you heard number of times they talk about free economic, you can say they give a tax exemptions in the economic zones. They talk about the certain areas tax. Why not they are giving this kind of exemptions to the maritime industry? We have 3 big ports, agreed, Karachi, Qasim and Gwadar. And if you can give this, you have a 70%, let's say you are having a tax on, then earlier they said that we are coming up with a maritime policy and the ship, and if somebody wants to register an industry here, there will be exemption, but they started again putting the 17% tax. No, that is not an attractive. There are many other parts in the world which are making it attractive. Even a Pakistani businessman is investing there. Their flags are, you can say, shining on Pakistani ship owners rather than a Pakistani flag shining. So there is a need, a vision, and this vision is, it required a proper, you can say, hammering on this idea and convincing the policy makers that look, you have a 8 billion without transfer, why not you can tap on it? You have a, you can say, 2 provinces bigger land, why you are not going to identify? If you see these small states, island states, they have a surplus. Why? Because they introduced the tourism. But if you are starting from, you can say, Karachi, and with the coastal line going up to Gwadar, there are many places which become very attractive.
Beaches, so beautiful.
And Pakistan is full of tourism. So we have to develop them, secure them, generate an impression if you are coming here. And if, as you know that if you count, if one tourist, if he comes, how much he generates the industry? Your hotel industry, your you can say
Traveling
industry, your food industry, your work industry.
The individual has the disposable income.
Yeah, problem here is that we are still living in a traditional mode. We are still thinking about a traditional security.
So now it's time for innovation.
Yeah, and innovation is there. And luckily we have all the resources available. So with that context, if we can use this kind of a thing, it will be definitely boosting our economy, boosting our influence in the region, at least in the NEMA, Indian Ocean, and strengthening in a way, because when you have this kind of economic activity, even not for you can say protecting it from the different threats, you are going to investing in your Navy as well. And the Navy budget will be moving on the private sector indirectly.
Gets connected and everyone, you know, has that win-win kind of a situation.
Yeah, so you need a strategic vision.
Exactly. Now coming to you, ma'am, since Dr. Saab just mentioned this strategic issue, it is generally believed and historically that even a lot of Chinese philosophers used to say that whoever controls the Indian Ocean controls the globe, because you're talking about the trade route, you're talking about the oil route. But having said that, ma'am, the strategic importance of this particular area, and you are talking about an area which is much bigger than Punjab and KP put together. Now, when you talk about the seafood industry, it is believed that over $2 billion worth of exports could be generated. But since there are issues, there are problems of storage and a couple of other as well. So ma'am, let's talk about the strategic importance. I mean, this collaboration, this private sector and the, let me put it this way, the government, obviously Navy is definitely a very important arm of our forces. So when we say that, I mean that collaboration, that synergy, let's talk about that.
Faisal, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ji. We can all hear you.
Thank you so much. First of all, very aptly, as the panelists have highlighted, the various hurdles which we have in addressing the true potential of the country. But and as you have identified a question that how this B2B and how this private-public partnership will be, you know, helping us through this event. I would like to share with the audience that this specific event, Pakistan International Maritime Exhibition and Conference, it is an effort by Pakistan Navy, Ministry of Maritime Affairs and National Institute of Maritime Affairs to take all this maritime potential of the country to a step further. It's not about identifying the potential or creating awareness. Through this event, we are more focused on providing the means to the people so that they can, you know, earn through the seas and they can make out of it. We need to equip them through right form of skill set. We need to equip them through the right technological advancement we do have and the scientific research we do have. So this exhibition and this conference will not only help us to collaborate and bring all stakeholders together for the knowledge sharing, for capacity building, for identifying the collaborative gaps where we can work together, not only at the national level but also at the regional level. It is very important to learn from the regional states. We were talking about the tourism, we were talking about the fisheries, and the panel has also highlighted about the shipbreaking and shipbuilding. Now the time has arrived when we need to work with the regional and international collaborative partners, and we need to learn from the success stories. We can learn from them, we can apply those success stories in Pakistan, and we can always seek support from the government so that we can tell them that what are the key things we need to apply here in Pakistan. So this PIMEC is an effort by Pakistan Navy, Ministry of Maritime Affairs, and of course NEMA, to bring on board all the private and public stakeholders, and we will be having technical sessions, we will be having academic sessions, and we will be having special sessions for business community so that we can sit together and we can talk about the issues and we can talk about the way forward.
All right, now coming to you, sir. When we talk about this potential that the maritime has, and it's just like as if the more you explore, the more you'll get to know about it. I was just thinking about 2-3 countries, for example, Norway for that matter. I mean, a very rich country, but really got financially so strong because of the offshore availability of oil and gas. Great. You talk about Libya for that matter. They have their own. But so when it comes to Pakistan, do you think that the potential is there, but unfortunately the exploration part wasn't, unfortunately? Otherwise, I still remember there was this artificial island that popped out of the sea and close to Karachi, if you remember, and
Yes.
there, people had lit and there was fire. So what I'm saying is that God knows what we have, but we do not know.
Exactly. First, two very brief comments about our fellow panelists. Dr. Jaspal just mentioned that why people are not taking interest. I think one reason is that our policymakers, they do not have an education or they do not have awareness about our sea resources.
Perhaps both.
Because they are not exposed. All our, policy making, decision making is in Islamabad centric, and there will be people who have never been to a coastal area even for that matter. So this is a lack of awareness, one thing. And second thing, I would like to just comment, in addition to Pakistan Navies taking major share for this event, and then Ministry of Maritime Affairs and NEMA, I am very glad that a professional private sector organization, Badr Expo, they are going to handle this event. They have a huge experience. They have been conducting Pakistan's premier and international standard ideas for ages now. So they have the experience for arranging the events and making the B2B connectivity. So I am very optimistic about the success of this show. Having said that, now I will briefly touch upon the phenomenal economic activity which we can generate immediately in terms of tourism. Just look at Sri Lanka, look at Maldives. Maldives is generating 2.1 billion, being just a small
One of the most expensive resorts that they have.
Then Seychelles. Today one speaker,
Seychelles Islands, yeah.
He's somebody mentioned, quoted their Minister for Tourism. He said that we are not a country with a small island state. We are a country with a huge sea available to us. So that is the perspective, how you see yourself and then how you apply. Unfortunately, in tourism, we haven't even explored our north properly and not exploited that to generate foreign exchange. South is always neglected. Whereas even for domestic tourism, because
now religious tourism,
because of weather conditions, north is not available to everybody around the year. So the times once north is not available, we can divert that traffic to the south.
Absolutely.
So it will generate activity for Pakistan Railways, it will generate activity for Pakistan International Airlines and all other transportation. It will help people build new hotels. Once the demand will be there, people will build better hotels. So we can generate so much out of this coastal tourism that I think it's unimaginable. Because small countries that I mentioned, if they can do that with planning and with sustainable models.
You need to have a vision for that, right, sir?
And that should be a strategic vision. That we have.
And there should be consistency as far as the policy is concerned.
Consistency of policies, and it should not be taken as one government's initiative and rolled back once the regime changes. It should be taken as a state-owned initiative, and it should be seen in the perspective of 10 to 15 years, and we can just do that. And another thing, from overall economy point of view, people are not aware what sea lines of communications are, what is their vitality to our national interest. So we have to create that awareness through the sideline conferences, the breakaway conferences in this particular event.
Right.
So that is the focus, and I think starting from our today's launch of the event and the kind of response and patronage we have had today from government and the Pakistan Navy and other institutions, I am very positive. Inshallah, this is going to be a stepping stone for enormous potential. Harnessing those enormous potential.
As I say, it's always the first step.
Exactly.
At the end of the day,
I am
when you
very
look at any success story, sir. I'm not talking about another very important aspect. Iranian president, when he was in Pakistan, I remember, and there were a couple of journalists along with him. So we had some candid chat, and I remember they said that. This Chabahar, because whenever we talk about Chabahar and Gwadar, we always think that they have some sort of a disconnect and perhaps rivalry. He said no, they will complement each other, especially Chabahar is going to complement. Now, they had their own reasons to convince me, but what I'm saying is that look at Dubai model, look at Muscat used to be another center. Now you're talking about Chabahar, a lot of investment has been done, and I was again surprised to know the other day, ma'am, that money that China had promised to invest in Iran, 400 billion in the next 25 years, the gentleman, which already is very used to having a good infrastructure in their country, Iran I'm talking about, he said, you will not believe the kind of infrastructure the Chinese have built. There's so many Chinese all around us. Now Gazprom is again coming in, investing $40 billion recently, we got to know. What I'm saying is, ma'am, looking at Iran and the money pouring in, don't you think that is going to be a challenge for all these ideas?
Most probably what you said is somewhat correct, but our geopolitical situation is totally different, and internal politics totally different. The countries around the world, they invest in blue economy, they invest in ocean. That's why they developed. In early 80s, they developing the underwater cables, submarine cables, and we were just trying and built up the stories and the buildings. But we have to invest whatever our regional or international community they are doing. They have all the right to develop, and we have our right to develop. And for the development, we need to invest in our ocean and ocean resources and harnessing of the oceans. If Chabahar, we can't stop them to develop. We have to make sustainable strategies to develop ourselves. The Chabahar project, if I'm not wrong, it was about to come, maybe it was proposed to Pakistan as well. It's like CPEC in Pakistan, it's Gwadar. But it's still the Gwadar development again in a process of development. It's not yet developed. So we need to develop our domains very wisely, very strategically, because nationally, internationally, regionally, the people, they are investing in ocean and ocean resource harnessing. So we have to develop in our domain what we need to develop. The Makran coast is rich in many minerals and other industrial product as well. As you mentioned, the piece of island is raised up and it's like a small, it's not in Karachi, it's basically Makran. The entire Makran, no, is close to Gwadar. Entire Makran coast is rich in 6th generation fuel, is gas hydrate. If the pressure of gas hydrate is built up and the piece of land is not just once, it's 3 times.
Obviously.
Yeah, this is because there's a lot of resources, and with the help, as CNS has mentioned in his speech during this launching ceremony of that. With my institution, National Institute of Oceanography in China Geological Survey, we mapped out our resources there. We have great potential for 6th generation fuel, not just fuel, gas hydrate, other resources as well. These are there. With that, we have enough potential for aquaculture, we have enough potential for tourism, we have enough potential for energy. And the transportation and the shipbuilding, as you mentioned, is the shipbreaking. The problem, these are not something new. These are not new. We have been to Antarctica twice. That means we have footprint in Antarctica as well. We have done great surveys. Basically,
South Sea is all the way down south.
Yes, it is. It is. We did that too.
Jinnah Research Center there.
My institute developed that Jinnah station. We visited there. We were more advanced in 40 years back than now. And I'm very, very optimistic and very supportive to Bidar Expo, because they took an initiative, and CNS also is a very visionary man, and he took an initiative to revive our blue economy potential. Because these were there, we addressed these potential before. We did some aquaculture practices, we did Antarctic expedition, we have tidal energy project, and we surveyed many entire coastal areas there. What we need to do this in FAB event, what we are look forward, we have enough potential, our region enough potential, as you mentioned, Chabahar. We don't need to copy it down, we need to find collaborations, stakeholders like B2 business. We have to find the market. If the business is there, market is there, so their local market is going to be flourish very soon. So this is going to be a market showcase. The product which we have, the facilities which we have, so we can market these things in
I think the most important
fabric.
factor over here, no matter how you have got the Kohinoor diamond, but the thing is that if you don't showcase it, or if you don't even let people know that we have something to offer, and if your competitors all around you, they end up coming up with some better product.
Yes, it is.
That is what has happened. I mean, you
Yes,
just said that
it
we were advanced 40 years ago as compared to now.
Yes.
But Dr. Saab, that is the problem, right? We were in so many things.
Let me respond to your question when you said the sister ports. For political consumption, these kind of terminologies or jargons are very important, and it seems correct. But for reality, no. These are the sister ports, and they are the competing ports. Your Karachi is competing port for the Dubai, for Abu Dhabi. Your Gwadar is for Chabahar. The only survival is fittest survival. You have to develop yourself. You have to make yourself more attractive, and in that context, of course, your political stability is the key for it, and then investors comes keeping in mind your long-term policy, not a short-term policy. Unfortunately, in Pakistan, we try to make a policies not more than 4 years or 5 years. This concept, we have to come out of this concept of 5 years. We have to come out of 10 to 15 years vision about the maritime, and then, yes, Chabahar, Gwadar, Dubai. If you start tracing, both those will be going to compete. So why they permitted to build? Even if I can give you a very simple example. Go in any market here. There are two brothers shops. When you can say the person is trying to purchase something, both are making it attractive. It doesn't mean, but they are competing. Business strategy is business. What is the business? It's just like a war, only the absence of the means of the violence. So Pakistan has to think on these lines. We have to make ourselves more attractive. We have to come out of these kind of things. Let's say, I can give you an example. Our all media have been showing since last 4 days situation in Karachi. The Karachi is sinking. If you see the video,
floods, yes.
Internationally, if somebody wants to invest in Karachi, what his mind will be going to guide?
No.
No. Similarly, if you have to think about the Gwadar, water is not available. Other problems are not available.
For that matter,
and frankly speaking, proxy wars are going on. So we have to be come out of these things. Of course, what the madam was saying and Ijasa was pointing out, we have a immense potential. And even if we are able to utilize it efficiently, even 10% of that potential, it will be equal to what you are you can say with your entire agriculture sector or your other sectors you are producing. But the problem is, as I said in the beginning, vision is there. Today I have first time seen that there was some kind of an attempt to materialize it, to make it a practical attempt. But I have to, still I am not confident. There were two ministers, defense minister, there was a maritime minister, and there was a third production minister. There was a need to have an announcement or giving the assurance that which kind of the economic policy they are going to chalk out to make the people, let's say 8 months down the road, there will be this big mega event which they talk at Maritime International Conference and Expo in Karachi. If you start working today, legislating, making them public, putting them in the media.
Like the Expo in Dubai, look at the way they marketed it.
They started 2 years, 3 years.
Exactly.
If you start marketing now,
whole city.
Exactly.
so we had today we started marketing, but without any, frankly speaking, no legislative support.
There you go.
That is the only, still where I understand what is the limitation, where the state has a see blindness, these policy makers or the people are not aware. Even this initiative is again a big initiative. But from today onward, we have to work on these things.
Absolutely.
If you are not going for a practical sort of thing, if I say, oh, Iranian president came or ambassador is saying the sister, yes, they are sister ports. If the others are saying, but I have no right to blame others. I have a right to investigate myself. What is my policy?
Eliminate your threats.
I can give you an example.
Applies on your potential.
Look,
basically.
I came across, there is a maritime training, you can say cadets academy in Karachi. The cadets go there, get a training, but they don't have a jobs. Why your own ship industry is missing? If you have a big Bangladesh, 50 years or more than 80 ships in the sea.
And 80
And you have seen
of
that,
reserves also.
people have to keep in mind how these ships are important. The Tamil movement, it was supported by Tamil zone with the different countries flag, 6 ships. And historically, if you go in the history, if the history is the guide, because you cannot understand your present without your past, Athens, naval power.
Ma'am, quick comment and then I'll go to the lady.
You know, when we are preparing for down the road the blue economy, which we are trying to showcase our blue economy, but we need to promote one more thing, the security, safety, sustainability together.
I think this is the most important aspect.
Without this, we can't invite investor to our country.
All right, sir.
We have to handle our perception management, because today we had, and I asked them, okay, how is the Karachi? He said, not as bad as being shown in the media.
Yeah.
Because the media is going to show you what they want you to see. Simple as that. That's
so
what,
we have
what sells.
And just a quick comment, we have to compete and we have certain exclusive area. For example, a deep sea port, Chabahar or Dubai, they cannot compete in this particular domain with
Gwadar is a deep sea port.
Exactly.
So we
are
have
lucky, but we need to.
So we have to, our exclusivity, we have to sell that.
There you go, sir. Now, ma'am, coming to you. Interestingly, not as a surprise, but definitely it's a huge money that we're talking about, that annually when you talk about the ocean's contribution as far as world economy is concerned, ma'am, that is 1.5 trillion, T for trillion dollars.
Yes.
Even if you end up fetching 1% of that, 1%, that means you're talking about $15 billion, ma'am, 15 billion. So, where are we? Where do we stand?
I was just listening to all the panelists, so very quickly before I answer to your question, when it comes to Gwadar, just in 2 lines, we need to make Gwadar a transit and transshipment port. Until you do not focus on developing Gwadar as a transit and transshipment port, the country would not be able to get benefit out of Gwadar port. Secondly, when it comes to Chabahar and Gwadar, we have all the good political, strategic and economic reasons to say that Gwadar is somehow better option for all the shipping lines coming to the region in the future. And once it will become a transit and transshipment board, we will have an access to Central Asian states, we will have an access to European ports, we will have an access to Middle Eastern ports, as well as all the African ports where China is right now having a network of trade corridor and things. Next, what Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jaspal and what we were talking about, Dr. Nusrat, that we are lacking sort of coordination, the collaboration amongst the ministries, the horizontal and vertical coordination. So let me just assure to the audience and to all the panelists that this effort we have been working on timing for like past 4 months with Badr Expo. This is a very significant step to address all these gaps. We have already identified the themes and thematic, the conference and the expo will be conducted on the thematic basis. You know, we have different themes and we have identified regional and international partners and presenters.
But ma'am,
who
at
will
the
be
end of the
working
day,
on
you know,
this.
you need a captain to
Yes.
sort of, you know, look after that ship that is Pakistan. But you need somebody like Erdogan or Mahathir Mohammed. Honestly,
No,
with somebody with a vision.
I personally feel that at least this realization has, you know, at least that thought is gaining acknowledgement amongst the policymakers, amongst the decision makers, also amongst the people and stakeholders, that we should have a long-term vision. Consistency
Absolutely.
of policies is very, very, very important. So, based on all these issues, this PIMAT will definitely be helpful in bridging that gap.
All right, ma'am.
Giving an
All right,
example
ma'am.
of that's how we will inshallah develop a network of.
All right, ma'am, I'm so sorry to cut you here because we're totally running out of time, but I would like to say thank you very much for your presence. Dr. Saab, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much, ma'am. And Abim Saab, always good to see you, sir. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you inshallah tomorrow at 8:05 p.m. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Good afternoon.